Hello, hello, hello. Hey Google, turn the candle red. Hey, how's it going, Razor? Are you who I think you are? Nice. Nice to see you. Let me just post that I'm going to be streaming. Uh, I don't expect I'll get like one or two people, but if I just keep doing it, eventually I will get three people, and then four, and then five. All right. How do I post again in Discord? Streams. Great. Cool. All right. So what we're gonna do tonight is work through Conga Quest. Let me see if I can get some free music going on YouTube Music again. Royalty free background music. Here we go. Let's do. Let's see. That's coming in hot. Or we can pull it up a little bit for me. Down for you. All right. That puts me well above the music, right? Let me know if the sound is not great. Okay. I am working on Conga Quest, which is on bizagames.com. And let's make this window a little bit smaller so it's not so ridiculously big. And nice. Cool. So this is bizagames.com, and this is where I host the games that I am working on. You can go and play them right now. A lot of them are free. This is my admin view that shows me like the level editor, uh, and some games that I'm working on that haven't been released yet, like this tattoo game that's pretty fun, where you can put tattoos on people. It was an experiment to use AI where you say what tattoos you want to put on, and or the AI will ask for a tattoo, and you draw it, and then it will actually grade it for you. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about. Let me make sure the music is going to my headphones. There we go. That probably fixes some of the sound quality too. Um, what we're talking about today is Conga Quest. Conga Quest is the big ambitious goal I have for 2026, which is to release a game every week for the entire year, which so far I've succeeded at. Every new episode comes out at 8 a.m. Yep, right there. I made sure I said it. 8 a.m. on the. Maybe it will come out a little earlier, but I try to schedule it so that it's just at 8 a.m. And Conga Quest started actually as a Ludum Dare, which is a 72-hour game jam, back in 2017. So it's now almost the 10-year anniversary of the original Conga Quest will be next December. And the theme for this Ludum Dare game jam was the more you have, the worse it is. So I was thinking, oh, that's like Snake. What if I mix Snake with an adventure game? And that's what Conga Quest came out. When I built this from scratch in the browser, you can also play it, but because it's old, you have to use mouse and keyboard. I'm not going to do that today. Actually, let's just take a look real quick. So you wake up unfamiliar town, you don't remember who you are, how you got here, arrow keys move, blah blah blah. This is what started it all. Look at that walk speed, so slow, which maybe people would prefer because it helps you learn how to play the game. But this game is kind of like the trading quests that happen in like Link's Awakening is maybe the first one that had like these trading quests where you kind of build up to something. In Conga Quest, the idea was that you collect people to follow you, and like it looks like a conga line, and we can do that really fast because I know how to speedrun this game. I found some coins. I can go and use the coins to get a fish, and then I can get the cat to follow me. And then if you talk to the lady, she says she likes cats, so she'll start following you too. And then you find out that her grandson is the chief of police, so he starts following you. And now you got this crazy maze to collect money that actually doesn't matter at all in the game. It was just to try out the maze mechanics. So when I first built this game, what I recognized is that in Snake, if you go on your run into a wall or run into yourself, you die, but you're always moving. And I don't like games that are stressful where I don't like get a chance to like take a step back and do it at my own pace. Like timers and all that stuff I'm not a big fan of in games, and I've yet to put one in a game, though the appeal is there because it's pretty easy to just throw a timer in something. So I was trying to think through when I built this, what kind of mechanics are there? There's these checkpoints that save your progress in case you get stuck, because if I, let's say, try to go up here and I want to get the money and I put myself in a position of getting stuck, the game detects that and you die. And then so a maze is a logical use case for this kind of mechanic. And then I got started thinking about what other kind of stuff could you put in mazes. Well, you could put these one-way signs where you can only go in one direction. So, for instance, can I get stuck there? There's probably a way to. I could have just got stuck there. 1 second. Now I'm so used to this game, it's hard for me to lose. All right, so there. Yeah, I can't go that way, so you get stuck. So there was a lot of fun mechanics that I had in this game, and I played a lot of it with my nieces and nephews who are very young. And I think the appeal of it was that it's very easy to control. It's slow. You get lots of retries. It's silly when you talk to the people, and it's like one text box of dialogue. And there was some I feel like there was a little bit of magic to this game. So this lady lost her gun in here, and you got to find it. She's a police officer. And you have to collect more and more people to progress in the story to get ahead. So in the 72 hours that it took to make this game, I made the engine for it. It used I did use some libraries and stuff. I used this Pixie.js library for rendering sprites, which is a JavaScript library. It's a browser-based game. But this was 2017, so I don't even know if Pixie.js is even popular anymore. I could have just drawn to the browser canvas directly, though I think even in 2017 that was seen as potentially slow. Now it's not really seen as slow as much anymore. But for the most part, outside of using Pixie, everything in the engine was built by me. And so I had to think through, what do I want this engine to do? And I came up, you see, she just walked underneath this desk. And even, I'll tell you, I just died. Most of the mechanics in this game are based on you interacting with a thing right next to you. And also you can deadlock your game if you like get stuck and then like walk on a checkpoint on top of it. So there's a lot that could be improved about this game, which is part of the challenge of extending Conga Quest each week. But when I first built this engine, I was like, oh, it's going to be tile-based, kind of like the original Pokemon, where when you hit the walk button, it automatically walks you a full tile over in the direction you want to go. And I realized that I just needed 2 layers, really. Backdrops, which are just kind of like the ground you walk on, and then props, which is just the layer that the characters live in, and then characters are like another like entity. So characters and props live in this same layer, and then the backdrops are always underneath. That's a pretty simple rendering concept. So all you have to do is render all the backgrounds first, and then on top of it, draw all the characters and the props. And as long as nothing overlaps, because as you can see in this game, nothing does overlap in terms of like, there's no like 3D effect of this like safety cone overlapping the character at all. They all live in their top-down tiles. So the rendering is very, very simple. I drew all of the assets, if you can believe that someone could have come up with the quality of assets that are in this game. There's not that many assets, as you might guess from a room full of chairs. And I think the limitations of trying to get this game out in 72 hours and trying to do it quickly was a lot of fun, because to even draw a scenario like this, when you build an engine from scratch and you don't have the tools to do level editors or stuff, you have to get scrappy. So I use this like vector art program I had called Sketch, and Sketch stores its data as JSON, which is like a common notation that I know how to program with. So I was able to draw the sprites in like a pixel editor program and then copy them into the Sketch program, and then drag and drop and copy them into this screen, and then save that to JSON, and then take that JSON and turn it into a different format for the game, and that's what the game is. And I was able to figure that out in in the 72 hours. So there was that spirit of just come up with something quickly. Obviously I could have used an engine that would have been a lot quicker, but I like to do some of the low level stuff. So yeah, there's not too much more to go on. The reason I want to bring this up is because in Conga Quest, because of those limitations, I think that a style or an aesthetic kind of developed out of it that I wanted to continue, that I had some fun with. Like, one, everything is really contrived and ridiculous, and there's not that many assets. They're repeated in ridiculous ways. I like the idea of just like kind of like a meta commentary on video games, that there's just a bunch of junk laid out to make life harder than it needs to be for you to like walk around or do things. And sometimes life feels like that. It's just harder than it needs to be anyway. So I think that it's fun to put that in games. Like, this bus is one of my favorite things. It looks like a normal bus, but then as you walk, you realize, oh no, what has happened to these seats? And another like core mechanic of Conga Quest is like the planning ahead a little bit and thinking through what you want to do. But it doesn't always play out. So like right here, you can't see when you get up to this point, you can't see on the screen what's next. So you have to make a leap of faith, which is very commonly known as a bad, like a game design bad practice, to have a leap of faith in a game where you have to make a move and you're gambling effectively. It happens a lot in platformers. Like if you had a platform in a platformer and then there's nothing else and your character's here and they have to like decide what to do and they don't have anything to jump to, they just have to make this leap of faith and hope that like down off screen they're going to intercept a platform. That's a faux pas, but I kind of like sometimes playing with that, and I remember that the bottom path is the safe one. What is it? 3/5 of the paths are safe, and 2 of them are dead ends. But the dead ends aren't that consequential in this game. You just have to go back to the last checkpoint, so it encourages you to save often. So being contrived, having a lot of silly characters that are kind of like helpless and don't know what's going on. Those are all kind of motifs that I liked in this game that's pretty simple tile-based maze traversal. All right, so that's the original. Let's get to what am I going to be doing tonight. This was made almost a decade ago, and now I have a whole engine that I have set up to crank these out. So doing them once a week. The first one was on January 4th, which was Saturday. And every 8 a.m. since then has a new episode. You can play them chronologically. Will help you to understand like the light story that's happening, but you don't have to. There's a lot of puzzles in these. It's not always maze traversal anymore. It's not always lines following you. It's kind of evolved into being like somebody at a playtest night I went to called it Sokoban adjacent. Sokoban is like this box pushing game that came out in the 80s, and they keep making releases of new versions of it. I've never played it, but I've heard the term. I've more become familiar with this from like The Legend of Zelda has you push bricks around or stones around sometimes. So I put this out every week. Friday night is pretty rough for me because I am up till like the latest I was up till was like 7 a.m. to try to hit the 8 a.m. deadline. Last night wasn't too bad. It was like it's middle of the road. It was like 5:30. I think the earliest I did was maybe 1. I'm really trying to front load it in the week, but I haven't even started on the next episode yet. Just because Saturday is my like recovery day. But 2 Saturdays ago, I played through the first 3 episodes and fixed them as I went. And that's what we're going to do tonight with the next 3 episodes. So I'm going to play through each of these, and they've already been tweaked and fixed. I don't have any like qualms about changing it after it's been released, because the hope is that it always makes it better. Also, there's not a ton of people playing it at the moment because this is like a big... it's still early. Like I'm almost a quarter of the way through the year. 2 more episodes will be the quarter mark, but there's a lot more to go. And maybe if there's a lot of people who are like nostalgic at some point for a specific one, they'll get upset, but I'm not that worried about it. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to play a little. And then as I get to a point where I'm like, oh, that could have been better, we'll hop into the engine and I will tweak it live. Any changes that I make in the level editor is immediately available because this is all browser based. I can edit the levels through the browser as well. Only I can do that with my account, but everybody can play for free if you want to play. You can play it on mobile. You can play it on desktop. Mobile has some cool controls that I just released for this new episode that you can try out for swiping and stuff, or you can use the traditional Game Boy controls that show up on the screen. All right, we're going to start new, and this episode is episode 4, and it's called The Missing Chapter 5, which is a reference to the previous episode, which had a book in it, and Chapter 5 was missing. Act 1, the question is the answer. 1.3 blah, 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 million years later, which I believe I did the math on is 1.3 million years in 1 week earlier. So this is like a week in the respect to a million years. You wake up in a tent. You're Bud, the incumbent god of leisure. So there's a lot of gods in this game. It's set in like a pseudo present. And the gods are kind of like the Greek gods, but they live in the present. And they're not the same as the Greek gods. I came up with my own god titles. They might align with similar gods in like Greek or other religions, but that wasn't my intent. So in an earlier episode, Bud became the god of leisure. And let's just get through it. So... Bud's memoir notes. I decided to start keeping a journal. I think it will help later when I go to write my memoirs. My name is Bud, and I'm a god. Well, I'm an incumbent god. I'll become the god of leisure once the paperwork gets through. The last 99 years or so have been interesting. A century of immortality, but none of the influence bequeathed to a god. My mentor Witness and I have roamed the world watching as it changes. And my, how has it changed? Absent leisure. The world has grown uptight. The other gods have relished their time without leisure, slowing things down. But in 30 days, the paperwork will finalize and I'll be a god, which is why we're here at the mountain of the Guru, to find a way to rid the world of the other gods. I've gotten feedback from my wife that I'm putting way too much text in these, but this is optional text, so I might just keep it there because you don't have to read it if you don't want. All right, so you're on a snowy mountaintop, and who's this? Hey, bud, you ready? It looks like this path down is covered in snow. Guess that means we only continue up. Witness, notary of the gods, and your mentor is now following you. All right, we have our companion. Let me see if we can get some other music going. Where is the music? Oh, this is it. Where else if you bring background music? It would be pretty lame if somebody's... Ooh, let's try this one. There we go. It's a better vibe. Can this get a little bigger? No, I think that's the biggest it goes. All right, let's just play. Guru ahead. The last episode is the one where I introduced particle effects. This is the episode where I introduce pushing. This is the very first episode to actually let you push stuff. So I am a big fan of the game should not have to spell out how to do the puzzles. Even though I put a ton of text in my games, I don't put text for the puzzles. So the hope would be that someone would be like, this looks unbalanced. Let me push that over and make it balanced. And then here you have to push the snowball through the snow. So that would teach you that pushing the snowball in the snow makes it bigger, which now makes it match the other one and makes it balanced again. All right, now this one looks a lot bigger than last time, which maybe you don't remember. But so you have to put it through 2 pieces of snow to make things balanced. And then you continue your way. All right, now I need to make small snowmen. So I'm going to go this way and that way to make... Oh, no, I already failed. And this is the first episode to include the undo button, I think. So go there. That's the bottom of this small child snowman. And then you can make snowmen. So all of this, I made a game engine. And let's start showing how this all works. We'll go to Biza Games, and we'll go to this thing that I have built called World Pencil. World Pencil is a browser-based level editor that I spent all of December of 2025 building. I had set weekly goals because around the end of November, early December, I was like, I want to spend 2026 actually making games and get them out there. I've been working on this one game, Deferred Detective, for a year and a half, almost 2 years, and it wasn't... The progress I was making was a lot of work without a lot to show for it. So I was like, let me do something I know how to do, which is make Conga Quest episodes, make a new version of the engine. The harder part about building an engine, I would argue, is the conceptual design of it, less about the coding of it, but that might be because I code a lot. So it's, knowing how the pieces should fit together is actually the tricky part. So I already knew how I wanted to make the pieces fit. So I was just going to make a new engine through December. I did have AI help me with the code, but I know how to do the code. It's just quicker to have it let it write some of it. So, oh boy. Look how good this level editor is. I can't scroll to the bottom. I'm going to have to shrink the screen to get to... Here we go. That episode. So this is the level editor. It's pretty simple. There's a title page that has you can put the title of the game. I even had the idea to put the cover art image here, but realized that's not how I need to host it, so it doesn't matter. The title page is for like the high level, like applies to the entire game kind of stuff. So the title applies to the entire game. I can specify the size of the screen in tiles in this fixed mode. The newer episode allows for fill mode, so it will actually fill your screen, but I'll keep this as fixed. It lets you set a walk pace in milliseconds, which is how long it takes the character to traverse one tile. A lot of these things I tweaked week over week. So I built the first engine through the month of December, and that was a lot of work to get that done. But then each week I'll make improvements to the low level engine and the level editor piece. So this is the text blip is for sound. The last 2 episodes have sound. Any episodes before that didn't have sound. This says on new game I can specify rules in this like visual rule editor thing that I built out that says on the new game start this dialogue called start. This is all the dialogue in the game for this one episode. So like every week I have to write all this stuff. But every time I see a slow thing that's like slowing me down, I'll build new stuff into the engine by changing the code that powers the engine to make it even faster, which is cool to be able to do that. So this is the start text. The question is the answer. It uses this convention of 0.1.23 like off of the name to know like how to continue. That I used to actually have to stitch them together and say like when start is done, trigger start 1 like individually, but I figured this convention out, and that's if you hit this continue button, it will create a new one with the same name. But it's pretty simple. It's just you put the text in here, the name of it, so you can use it in the engine, and that is what pops up when the game first starts. I can specify an initial line. If I don't, it uses whatever the first character is when you create a new cartridge, I call them. It puts a character in there by default. I can specify an initial inventory if I wanted. And it looks like I did. I put a locket of quantity 1. Notice how ugly this is. That's not on purpose. It's on purpose that I haven't fixed it, because eventually I'll fix it because it like bugs me. But I really just want to get moving quick. So there's no space. It looks like the thing is called locket quantity, but it's locket quantity 1. I could have put locket X1. It doesn't matter. This is the coolest thing that is in the entire engine. It's probably how most people think about building a game, which is the scene editor. The red box shows you what would be in the viewport at any given time. So if I scroll around, it actually animates the particle effects as well. And I can see like wherever I'm standing is what I'll see. If the viewport hits the edge of like what's available to render, it won't go past it. So you don't get to see you don't get the boundary break or anything. And as you can see, I have a lot of layers. I mentioned before that there's backdrop and prop layers, but I added some new ones actually for this newest game that came out this morning. And with backdrops, I can choose. I can click on them. I can just draw them in there. There's not that many to click and draw. There's erase, and then there's this the erase. This eyedropper doesn't work. I don't know what my goal was. Maybe so you could click on. Yeah, actually, I should fix that. That would make it a lot easier. I could pick a background color, which is gray. I give it a name. I can click on this door button, and then I can create doors to other scenes. Here's all those bridge scenes. The particle effect for the static. This bridge is actually a prop that when you like push this over, like reveals itself. And yeah, those are all those. What is this one? Oh, This is a dead scene that you can't get to in the game. Characters is there's spoiler alert. There's a lot of this episode has the most characters of any episode I've made and probably will ever make. There's a lot of them, and I have this like you can do that visual editor I mentioned before, which looks like blah. The first couple episodes were made only with the visual editor, and it got very slow. It's cool and it's welcoming if you like don't want to code, but if you can code, there's a lot of advantages. I can copy, I can paste, I can use AI to help write some of the logic if I don't want to write it myself. I created what's called a DSL, which is a domain specific language. So like this is the scripting language for the game that I engineered. So you can specify like every time you render the character, which happens at least 60 times a second on, well, it's based on the frame rate of whatever display you're on. Most displays can probably handle 60 frames. My laptop can get to 120, but either way, every frame it runs this logic to decide what to draw, and it draws this thing called God costume. I only do 2 frames of animation for every direction, so there's 2 by 4 directions is 8 frames of animation. I can specify if you were to interact with this guy what it says, and oh, I didn't even know I had this trigger. I added this for this one episode and never used it again. So this says if something enters adjacent to this character, do something. That's pretty neat. I might take advantage of that. I must have added that like late on Friday and forgot I had it, and that would have made some of what I just did in the most recent episode easier. When you have a lot of code and a big engine like this, it's easy to forget all the stuff that you can have. On interact, on adjacent, on idle. On idle means like every tick at 60 frames a second, it can do something, run some logic, not just for rendering, but like I don't think I use it in this game, but in the most recent episode, there's beams of light. So every tick of the engine, the light moves forward. And I like to think of the speed of light in real life as being the like clock tick of the computer that runs our reality. And that's kind of how like the light works in that game. Every tick, the speed of light moves an entire tile, which is the fastest rate of movement that game allows. The prop editor, these are all the props. So the metaphor is like a stage play. There's scenes, there's backdrops, and there's props. The props are the stuff that you can interact with that aren't characters. And this is how many I have in the game and the little preview of the art that goes with them. So like, here's those snowballs of different sizes, the snowmen and stuff. There's not that many backgrounds because it's mostly floors and static, like snowfall. This is all the sprites I drew for this game. This is a fully fledged sprite editor, but I only have this many colors. And it's not that fully featured. So I added an ability for you to just like paste you can copy an image from anything else and paste it in here, and it automatically size it in this. So I don't really use this that much to edit things other than I paste it from ASE Sprite. I don't know if it's pronounced A Sprite, but that's the sprite editor I use, and I pay for that. I think I bought it and drew this episode. I probably still was drawing inside the engine, but no, I think this is the first episode with like the tent where I started drawing it outside the engine, because like I don't have a line tool. So to do like lines, I have a fill tool but not a line tool. So to do this in here would have been annoying, or I would have had to add more features, and I was just like, it's easy enough to support copy paste, let me just do that. We already talked about dialogue, and this is music tracks. There's no music in this episode. So yeah, that's how cool you use. Oh, A Sprite, is that what you use for editing, Razor? There's probably a delay in the chat, so I'll keep an eye on it. All right, so that's the engine, and oh, nice. Yeah, I really like Sprite. It works pretty well. I have to do a lot of palette swaps because I don't like this base like floor that I use quite a bit, and I just changed the 3 colors that make it up. And Sprite has a single color replace function, which is better than nothing. But like it would be cool to have like a full palette swap tool. Maybe they have that. Maybe there's a plugin or something. But whatever. So let's again continue our make it match. Whoop, 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 whoop. And I'll just show you there's a penalty if you screw it up. So if I make it too big, it turns into a pile of snow and you can't do anything with it. And we can restart. If you put 2 snowballs together, you get a pile of snow. And I can push it off the edge, and then you're screwed. So there's a lot of like ways to screw it up, and you can just reset. And this undo was like, actually this paradigm of a one-way, so you can't go backwards in this one. The one-way came from the original Conga quest. The checkpoint came from the original Conga quest. This is the first episode to introduce an undo, which is really just a load from your last save. And I use this a lot, and I use this pattern of blocking you from getting to the checkpoint a lot because I ran into so many issues with people breaking the game. It's really hard to design a puzzle, especially in a Sokoban game where you can like push something in a way where you can't get around it to like unpush it. I could maybe add an undo feature like they have in Baba Is You, but I don't know if I want to do that. A lot of people have brought it up. I'm thinking about it. But if you have undo, then it's like a lot less precious to move, but maybe it's less about the movement in this game and more about just like thinking ahead about like on this screen, it's not so much about the movement. It's about like, what the heck is being asked of me? And what's being asked of me is to make a snowman. So let's do that. And I already screwed it up. So go here. I heard that one great way to get people to stop watching a video you make is to screw up. So let's try not to screw up too much other than to show you that it's possible. All right, we did it. We made it through all of the bridge puzzles. Ooh, look at that scene. I'm pretty proud of this one with the snow kind of like fading out as the light hits it. Visitors, I haven't had those in decades. Who are you, visitors? I'm Bud, incumbent god of leisure. I'm witness, notary of the gods, and preceptor to this young god in training. I had to look that word up. I needed a different word for mentor. Ah, I see. And what brings you up this mountain past my clever snowman puzzles? I seek to rid the world of the other gods. Take it easy, Bud. Haha. Excuse him. He's just excited. I see. And why do you seek this riddance? They took advantage of a century without leisure and formed a world of work and exhaustion. It's my duty to swing the pendulum back the other way. Aha. Witness. What he's trying to say is, we want to make up for lost time. Getting the other gods out of the picture will help us restore the balance. I should probably put... restore balance works too. I see. Let me think. Minutes pass. Even more minutes pass. And then... how low can you go? I'll go as low as I need to. I'll do whatever it takes. The question is the answer. Very cryptic. Huh? That is all. Please leave my mountain. Wait, what? Our moment has passed. Please leave my mountain. All right. And now he's facing the other way. Which, for me, is a fun little detail to make him face the other way, but that's annoying to implement. And I do like when you talk to people at different times in the game, you get different responses. But it does mean that you have to like write a lot of logic. So let's go back to the engine. We go to the characters tab and we look for, I think I call him notary in this game. There's different logic. So if the character is not in the line. Yeah, if the notary is not in the line, then say notary interrupt. Otherwise, if the guru is done, trigger the notary response, which is the one we just had. So the guru has this tag of done. There's a whole tag system to this. It's similar to the CSS for like HTML. So like every entity in the game, backdrops, props, characters can have tags added or removed to them, and then you can use the presence of those tags to like trigger other behavior. So we just got that response. Otherwise, we say notary catch. I don't know why I named these the way I did. That's pretty bad. Like, these are not good names. I got better at the names later. Oh, I even made different versions of the notary. To handle different scenarios. All right, we don't have to do that now anymore. I use a lot of tags. Yes, exactly. Existence Scion. Yeah, so this on render trigger runs every frame, and you can write basically these flat if else statements. And this every if else statement has a selector, just like in CSS where you have a selector. And these are the selectors that you can nest together to select some node in the game world. So basically the entire game world is always available in memory because the game's not that big. I wouldn't, like, if I made Breath of the Wild, I don't think I'd be able to do this kind of stuff. But because these are simple games, I can take advantage of the fancy hardware and say, look across the entire game world, see if you find anything that basically it runs a selector that says find everything in a line that is the character notary using this and then invert that. So find everything else, and it will return all of the entities that meet this criteria, like all of them. And if at least one entity is returned, it will execute whatever trigger. So that's why this if every is basically saying if there's any entity at all, just make the art be the notary. So the selector is like the core mechanism of the engine, and it's very simple to use. I don't know if I haven't really studied other engines. Maybe other engines have this feature, but that's how I built this one, is modeled off of CSS because my day job is working with JavaScript in the web. So I just stole that paradigm. Cool. So we finished talking to him, and I wanted to say that to make him turn around, I had to teleport him because the only functionality I have available is teleport, and there's on the teleport you can say what direction they should point. So I teleported him to his own position and then pointed him that way. I think I did anyway. Actually, let's look at Guru. I even made 2 gurus to break up the logic a little bit. Guru, it's probably actually handled in the dialogue. So you may have noticed that there's this options that you can put on each dialogue. That's to support, like, when you have a text box, you can have like a dialogue tree. So really everything here is a list of flat dialogue nodes. And each dialogue node can have 0 or more options. And I have a lot of gross conventions that would, like, if I ever wanted to release this engine or like expose it for other people, they would have to learn all my dumb hacks that I made. And one of the dumb hacks is, let's see, with Guru, Visitor, I haven't those in decades. Guru 1, I'm guessing toward the end of Guru 23. Leave my mountain, 22, 21. Okay, here we go. I don't know why I added it. But this is a dumb convention. If I have a dialogue option, but I don't put text in it, I treat it as a trigger to run every time. So, and basically the way the dialogue options work is if you select them, it runs some. If you select them, it runs these rules, and you can choose rules that apply. Uh, so this rule applies every time, and what it does is it modifies entity self. So the entity in this case would be the guru because that's the one who is talking, and it adds the done. Well, it actually sets the tag to done. So if there was any tags already on the guru, I'd wipe them out and just replace it with a tag called done. And then I trigger guru dialog 22. And I don't know where I flipped the guru around. This was episode 4, so it was probably like the last week of January that I worked on this. And I'm curious how I made the guru flip around. Because he would have flipped around toward the end. Oh, tags done. I bet the guru. Let's see. Let's look at guru. Aha, yes. If the tag's done, I just render guru back. Otherwise, I render guru. And I notice there's no walk animations because the guru doesn't walk in this game. So this is another guru that will, spoiler alert, appear later in the game. And he does not change his viewport. And there's his little face. And he's got fun little decorations. All right, so the guru just said, how low can you go? And then was really cryptic and told us to leave. And as we're leaving, witness, our mentor or preceptor says, wait, I think I got it. Huh? You know what he means? Yeah, I think he's being literal. How low can you go? What's the lowest point on the planet? I don't know. The core? Act 2, rock bottom. So this is like the first time I did like a hard cut. This episode kind of plays like a movie, and there's like a lot of hard cuts and stuff. Nothing crazy. There's no transition. It's just a teleport. Everything in this game is teleports. So if you've built games before, that's probably how everything is modeled anyway. But you teleport stuff to a spot in a scene. And I believe I teleport you here. And then this is a different notary entity than the last one. I don't teleport the old one over. I think I give you a new one. And I can't tell you how hard I've had get it. The following mechanic is, I feel maybe like I'm really thick, but I've had so much trouble getting the following mechanic to work across teleporters. Because like you walk onto a teleporter and then you pop over here. You need the guy behind you to like walk onto the teleporter too. And I've had so much trouble with that. I'm using like this breadcrumbing strategy, kind of like Hansel and Gretel, where like you leave breadcrumbs behind you. And because when you teleport, like you might say, oh, when a guy moves forward, move to where he was last. But it depends when you record where he was last. And if he records, the breadcrumb is recording where he was last. He records when he walks on the teleporter, I record it. Then I teleport you. I think I record it right when you start walking, where you were last. You walk on the teleporter. Oh yeah, that's the problem. You're a tile before the teleporter. You say I was here. Then I walk to the teleporter, and then I'm gone. So the breadcrumb is just next to the teleporter. It's not on the teleporter. So I actually have to add extra logic that says, okay, now put the breadcrumb on the teleporter. This whole thing it's not that exciting, but it's really annoying to get the following mechanic to work. If somebody has a better idea, let me know. We spent days descending and eventually reached the planet's core. All right, let's just get through this. It looks like the bud is maybe teleported 1 pixel off to the side. Interesting. All right, so last episode introduced pixel or particle effects. This episode used them to great effect. There's just tons of particle effects. The lava, these smoke things. Notice the smoke is behind me, even though it should be in front of me. That is maybe the first thing we will fix right now. Um, Another thing I'll call out is as I'm fixing things, you're not going to be able to see it because we're going to be, every time you walk on a save tile, it saves the game state. And when I edit the cartridge, I'm actually editing the initial game state, so we were not going to see any differences with me editing it. But what we're going to do is we're going to use this new feature I've added in more recent episodes called a vertical hint. And we're going to put this at 0.4. The vertical hint, even though this is a two-dimensional game, my low-level engine is three-dimensional. So this is the characters are actually positioned in the X and Y axis, but I can use or X and Z axis, but I can use, so X and Z is like horizontal on the flat plane, and then I'm using Y for the vertical. Different engines do different things, but I use Y for the vertical for my engine, and positive Y is up. So I'm saying give this smoke a hint to push it up a little bit vertically, and that's going to cause it to appear closer in the scene. So it's almost like in CSS when you use like Z index. This is what the vertical hint is. Whereas in CSS, the X and Y is flat like a newspaper, and then Z's coming out as like the height. I'm doing Y as the height. Not that exciting. All right, so we just fixed that. Whoever plays this game next will get beautiful smoke standing in front of them. Why did I pick 0.4? The problem with Z indexes is it's a arms race of, it's not a great solution to have a Z index, because really what you want is relative heights between things, to say like this thing should always draw on top of these other things. Z index is more of an absolute, where I just say give it this height and then hopefully everything else is under that height. 0.4 is, if I do 0.5, it'll actually knock it up a pixel in the UI when it renders it, so it'll push it into the screen more, and that won't look as good. So 0.4 is as close as you can get before the rounding will knock it up a pixel. So boring. I don't know. I'm sorry that I'm telling you this. You used to be able to run into the lava, but a lot of people played this on a phone, and I got really frustrated here in this area, and I'm the guy who made it. So I made it so you can't run into the lava. Oh, so this is, when I first made this level, I thought this episode, I was really embarrassed about it and thought it was bad. But now that I have come back to it, it's honestly one of the better levels I've made. So the point of this area is these water buckets, and you can push them into the lava. It's not a great, originally, because you could go in the lava, you would learn like, oh, things can go in the lava. It's not great that only the buckets can go in the lava. It means that you're not really learning stuff, because your intuition is wrong. Oh, why can the buckets go in, but I can't go in? And the reason is because it's really annoying if you go in. All right, so we learned that buckets can help us to get forward, and Conga Quest, the name of the game, is to always have some kind of general light pressure to move you through this linear game mindlessly. You don't need to think, you just do. And let's push this green button, and now we can get here. All right, now this puzzle I'm pretty proud of, and it's tricky, and it probably makes it so no one can ever beat my game, and they get frustrated and they don't want to play anymore. But you see that checkpoint down there you want to get to, and you see these buckets up here you haven't been to before. To get down, you have to go up in order to go down. So you line up the buckets, and boom. Spoiler alert if you don't want to know this game. And now we need to use these buckets. It's almost like expending energy to drill oil to get a lot of oil to then use more energy. So now we have the energy, and we made it down here. We want to go down there through that gate. I hope it's clear that you want to do that. Maybe gates hint, hey, that's the place you want to go. But you can't, so you go over here, and then you do some island hopping where you do some clever bucket positioning. And I'm honestly pretty proud of this puzzle. I think I made it pretty late on a Friday night when I'm delirious and I want to go to bed and be done, and I'm thinking, why did I make this goal of making a game every week? And part of it is just stealing ideas from other games I've seen. So let's go talk to this guy. Well, you're not the kind of dumb I expected. This chest contains everything you need to achieve your aims. Let's open it. And you got the limbo rod. Interesting. All right, let's talk to this guy again. What you now hold is the limbo rod. Yep, I got that. And it is a god device of incredible power. With it, you can rid the gods. With it, you can rid the gods. Does that make sense? I'm going to leave it. That rod can send anything to the bottom of the universe. How does that eliminate a god? What's bigger than infinity? Oh, I know this. Infinity plus 1. Precisely. Which is not true. There's no such thing as infinity. Okay, we got the notary to help us with conceptual issues. Precisely. So what's at the bottom of an infinite universe? You can't get there? You can't unless you have that rod. So this rod... Oh, you like the lava puzzle? Great. Thanks. I like it too. It's fun to push things in and get the steam to come out. You can't unless you have that limbo rod. So the limbo rod lets you break the rules of reality. And with it, it's a one-way trip. Poke anything and it's gone. Be careful. Always aim the rod down range. Also, if anyone is touching a person poked by the rod, they'll go to limbo too. And remember, this is a god device. As such, its power can only be used by a god. The paperwork to make a god is supposed to be done tomorrow. This storyline is so contrived, and there's a lot of text. So I don't know. I'm going to keep it for now, but maybe I'll clean it up at some point. Paperwork to make a god is supposed to be done tomorrow, the same day as the big god soiree. Act 3, the last soiree. Bud's memoir notes. Witness and I traveled to the big god soiree. Turns out it was a costume party. I decided to wear blue and he, as usual, white. Good thing this is a costume party. They'll never know it was us who limboed them. You need to get all the gods to touch each other and then walk under the limbo trap I put here. How do I get them to all touch each other? Wait, I got it. A conga line. The first legitimate conga line in Conga Quest is in this episode 4. A lot of firsts. Everybody, let's start a conga line. What do I do? Just walk by everybody and they'll start following you. And don't step on the trap till you've got all 100 gods, including you. Very late at night, I built this scenario. Hence that there's no textures on the ground. It's just 2 different colors. It is clearly inspired, if you've seen Eyes Wide Shut, by the party. But let's not go too far into that because it's not that kind of party. Which I really like Eyes Wide Shut. It's one of my favorite movies in terms of like the look of it and the feel of it. It just feels like a dream, nightmare scenario. And there's like a lot of Kubrick movies. There's like a lot of like, is there more to this fun stuff to talk about with it? Originally I made you and the notary, the black robed with the bird masks, but I needed a way for you to stand out. So inspired by SimAnt, if you've ever played that, they make your ant yellow in a world of black and red ants so that you know who you are. So I did that. So this is the level where it adds the adjacent. This is the level where it adds this little toast where you can put counts of things, which I never used again. I just had this vision. I was like, I want a giant conga line at some point in this Conga Quest game. And what better silly way to do it than to combine a conga line with a limbo bar to send you to limbo. It's just a bunch of puns and silly stuff. And I wanted this epic conga like snake line and to see it. And I'm really, after After I finished this level, I think this is the one where I did stay up till 7:30 in the morning, and I was very tired. And when I played it the next day, I was like, this game is bad. And the particle effects and the rendering was causing the lava level to get really hot in my hand on my phone. And I was like, I can't show this to people. This is bad. It's got bad performance. This is just a bad level altogether. And I was pretty down on myself. Whew, just barely made it. I took a risk by locking myself in that corner over there. But since then, when I played this level, I'm like, actually, this is not a bad level. This is a really well designed, in my opinion. There's a lot of just different mechanics going on at play, and there's 3 acts. This is the first episode to introduce the concept of a 3-act structure that's like called out, kind of like how Tarantino does in his movies. Oh boy, am I going to lock myself in here? And all you have to do is walk next to them, and it detects when you're next to them, and they will join the line when it gets to them. So the way that works is joining a line is a core fundamental concept of this game engine. So I just say add to the line a character, and it adds to this like stack of characters. And the logic is, there's so much logic goes into just getting people. Like, I would say like a ton of logic is just in the following mechanic, which makes sense in a game about following. Kind of Earthbound with the Happy Cult. Is the Happy Cult in? That's in the regular Earthbound, Mother 2? No, it's not in Mother 3, right? Is that like the third Threed? Has like the circus with the Happy Cult? Because I was just playing Earthbound not that long ago. Earthbound's definitely an inspiration for these games. I don't think Earthbound, like, I'm not a huge... You meet Paula there. Yeah. I remember that now. Actually, the last thing I was streaming on Twitch was Earthbound with a friend of mine like a year ago. And then I took a break from streaming, not on purpose. It's just I didn't have any ideas for what to stream. And I was using, so I got to get to 100 before I walk under this, because if I don't, I lose, and I don't want to lose because it's annoying to have to do it again. Even though it is really fun to get this line and just see all these people, it's just really, I don't know, it's cathartic to see all these gods following me. And oh no, I wanted to make it a nice tight thing. I'm so sorry for the people watching. All right, boom. They're gone. And just like that, the trap tripped and poked the first god. Bud's memoir notes. I like the idea of that was to like make it feel like it's a voiceover. I've lost all of the ideas for that. I have never played Earthbound, but I want to. The horror aspect of it interests me. Like the cosmic horror aspect. Okay. Because I feel like... Oh, yeah. Guy guys come in and just killing everything. And they all disappeared. It was just me and Witness left. The end of episode 4, the missing chapter 5, you win. Tune in next time to find out what happens next. Double nexts. Oh, well, there's a bug right there. Let's fix that. If you walk back over the limbo rod at the end of the game, it's over. So let's take a look at our limbo trap. So we have our limbo rod, which goes in your inventory. And because it goes in the inventory, I should give it a better name, because this is the name that appears. One cool convention about the engine is you use the name to refer to things throughout the engine. But there's an underlying ID system that's hidden from you that the engine totally manages. So even though this code is here, this code is actually not... If I wrote the code, all right, I'll give you an example. If I change the indentation doesn't matter. It's just for like fancy formatting. The new lines do matter for this. But if I click away and click back, it auto formats it. There's no comments or anything. It is compiling this into like a lower level data format that you can kind of see here. And then it re-renders it compiles it and then decompiles it back into the code. So it's not technically the code I wrote. It's like into one version and back out. And because of that mechanism, though, the on disk version of things stores the IDs, which you don't get to see here because they're not referenced. But the visual editor does reference the ID. Oh wait, the art maybe. No, it just says Limbo Rod, but like there's an underlying ID. Trust me. But long story short, because you can use the names and then it turns it into IDs behind the scenes. At runtime, it's turning it back into showing the name. So like technically the art is stored as an ID, but it just shows the name here when it decompiles it. Point of that is it's a pretty cool concept that I found, because I used to do everything based on IDs. Like if the ID is the name, the problem is if I go and I change the name, then anywhere that name is being referenced in the entire game, you have to go and make those changes. So you would have to have either the engine know to do that, or to like know how to find the reference of this specific ID the way you had it before and to change it to the new ID. Or you could do what I have, which is don't use IDs, use names. And then if you change the name, it doesn't impact anything. Held a message for a reason. Smart detection. Allow post to chat. RGBs. No, I don't want that. There's people trying to do marketing in this chat of a couple people. All right, I feel like I'm belaboring this too much. Let's just fix this limbo trap. All right, so when you enter, this says every prop by default you can't enter. Enter meaning like walk on top of it. So that everything by default is an obstacle, but you can put rules to say if you can enter it. And so everything can walk on, or I shouldn't say everything can walk on this. That's not what this says. This says when you evaluate this, it always evaluates to true. So everything can enter. I feel like I didn't explain it well, but and then this length selector, not a very good name, applies to the length of the line. There's only ever one line in the game. It's the Conga line that you're in. There's not sub lines floating around or anything. So I probably should have called this line length to make it more clear, but I just called it length. And it says if this selector was added just for this episode, I've not used it since. If the length is 100, then you output this end dialog and modify notary to set tags done. So let us do one more if statement. If and character notary soiree. We're going to piggyback off of the notary soiree character having a done tag. Has the tags done? And you might say, why do I have quotes sometimes and not others? Tags can't have spaces in them, but the names of entities can. So I have that. Is that one too many? Well, I think it's, let's see. Failed to parse if length 100. Yeah, because you have to do an else. Cool. So notice I don't have any logic here on this rule. It's just an if with nothing. That's a way of doing just a like it's kind of saying like do nothing if this condition is true when you walk through it, because this is on leave. So there's on enter triggers. So like as you enter the tile, it runs whatever logic. And there's a special selector called actor and a special selector called self that are used for every trigger. You'll notice that actor is not used for this one. So let's see. If the notary soiree has the done tag, don't do anything. Otherwise, if the length of the line is 100, trigger this. Otherwise, if not God 00, if not character God 00. Ah, okay. If the length of the line is 100, then end. Otherwise, if there is no character God 00, then say that. Why is it saying if? So basically what this is saying is if there's no character God 00, which could happen if God 00 was deleted from the game, which you can do. You can delete an entity and it's gone from the game for good. This is saying if that one doesn't exist, modify entity. Oh, okay. This is going to kill all the gods. It says get everything in the line that's not the player character, which should be all the other gods. Destroy them. Oh, so it's okay. In both of these, I send everybody to limbo because that's the whole point. They both go to limbo, but in this case, you get the game over. I don't understand why it's this logic though. Well, we can find out. Let's try to trigger the game over. Well, we just did trigger it. Let's restart. Continue from saved. Oh, I see. There must be something that's making it so I have to have at least one person in here first. Okay. Nope. Did I just break it? I think that you can't get the game over till the end. I think that this is not right. I think it should be else. All right. Everybody on the stream is going to hate me, but I want to speed run this. I think I fixed this broken logic. Let's start a new game. We're going to speed run this so fast. Please don't be bored. Please don't be bored. Just watch how fast I could do this. We're going to fix this. I have to play these games so many times to fix stuff. This is the problem of like a mutable state, meaning like the engine state is changeable. Has its cool benefits, but one of the drawbacks is that I can't like play from the middle because there is no middle to play from. Like the game has already changed its state as you play it. Okay. Oh boy, did I just bork that? I don't think so. Because you can sneak back here. Notice you can overlap in this game, but you couldn't in the first one. All right, let's go. Let's go. If I didn't fix it, then that's on me. Okay, Mona has passed. Get out of here. And we won't belabor that in this stream because we need to get on to the other episodes, and we're spending so much time on this one. All right. Oh, also, somebody showed me that there's a cool hack. You can just cheat and go over there. So that's a neat hack if you want to not have to do that first one. There's not any other hacks that I know of because I had to fix a lot of them. People were finding like, oh, you could just push the buckets over here and like not. Oh. Now I'm losing people because I'm losing. Take your time on this part. Okay. This part's tricky. You gotta set that up for there. I will say it's hard to come up with puzzle ideas, but once you have an idea, it's easy to make puzzles. I'll caveat that. It's very easy to make a wrinkle that's like you have to figure out how to solve it because you start basically work back. It's almost like a Rubik's Cube. A Rubik's Cube is a concept of a puzzle that you know and understand. I'm just going to keep playing as we go through this. It's easy to scramble a Rubik's Cube, which I equate to puzzle design. Puzzle design is like you have the world, it works. Now undo this and undo that and undo this, and you just undo it a certain number of steps, and then that's the state that you leave it in, and that's the puzzle for somebody to put it back together the way that it's supposed to be complete. So I would say to do puzzle design, just work back from a happy state and undo things, and then there you go, you're done. All right, so if things work out correctly, if I walk through this, game over, great. And if I get a guy and I walk through this, game over, great. And now let's get all of the gods. I don't know why I ever had that condition. Oh no, did I just do this? Yeah. On God 00. That is so confusing. Why would I have had that? It's like an archaeological dig from work I did a month ago to see what the code was. It's what did Friday look like? In I guess it's more than a month now. It was January that this episode was made. All right, let's go to the stairs. You have to do 2 passes of this because of one character forces you to have to do 2 passes, and it's that guy in the background right here. He or she, because they're in a robe, or they will force you to have to do another pass. Maybe I could fix that, or I don't know. I don't consider it a thing that's broken. I think it's a fun thing that you have to do it again. All right, but we'll get them on this pass. All right. We should get 100 once that tail gets up there. So now we just gotta wait until it clicks to 100. And that 100th, there we go, we got to 100, so we should, perfect, we fixed it. All right, now the last test is, so if we talk to the witness, you did it, bud, they're all gone, wahaha. So this is a hint at the notary's motivations, because you think, oh, it's Bud is the big baddie, but just like all cowardly folks that are like an advisor, instead of taking the lead and the responsibility on their own, they try to manipulate others. And that's the notary who tries to manipulate young Bud, the god. And look at that. No issue. We fixed it. We did a fix. The convention I use in the game is that like you get a you win screen, and then there's like one more thing you can do, one more person to talk to afterwards. I don't know if that's a great experience. It's kind of like the post-game content of one little bonus, but it might confuse people of like, am I done yet? All right, so that's episode 4. We made some small fixes. All right. Now to episode 5. Episode 5 I am particularly proud of because I think 4 had cool puzzles and cool like story, and it introduced a lot of neat concepts that were pretty ambitious. And the cover art is pretty cool. It's a coffee stain, and it's supposed to look like a page ripped out of a book. I did a lot better on the covers leading up to here, and then I put a lot more time into like the engine and ran out of time on covers. And the covers, I'm sorry, have been afterthoughts. Maybe I'll go back and fix these. There's a reason this one is blue. It's related to an alternate ending you can get. And let's do all the alternate endings. They're very easy to get to. They're at the very end. But what I didn't like about this one was the characters. I don't find Bud or the Notary to be all that interesting of characters. I more was trying to advance this contrived plot that I have, which is a tenet of Conga Quest to have contrived plots. So let's go into the next episode, Emergency Rollback, which is a pun on programming. In programming, if you deploy something to production, like a website, and it's not good, you do an emergency rollback and you undo it so that to a previous state, which is the metaphor for this episode. Tonight I didn't play through these episodes, but in episode 3 we were introduced. We jump 1.3 million years into the future, into the far future. Like if the present, like this is kind of in the present, this is like 100 years in the past, this is 1.3 million years in the future, and the universe has rotted. Now we are going back to the future with this potato creature that evolved over 1.3 million years. And here we are, 1.3 million years later, in a few hours. Notice I didn't put the fraction this time. Again, back to the potato. Arrow keys, blah, blah, blah. All right, so in the end of episode 3, we made it into this Forsaken Keep, it's called, and then the game ended. And then we went back in time to learn about Bud and all that stuff. So if you want to play through the game yourself, please do, and you can learn about the story. But it's not that important. It's fun puzzles and silly characters. Welcome to the Forsaken Keep, proud home of the world's content omitted. Which in the most recent episode that just came out this morning, the content omitted makes its return to the storyline. And you don't find out why it's called content omitted in this episode, but that will be revealed soon enough. Mainly it's because I thought it would be fun meta thing to like redact what the game content is within the game, and you have to figure it out later. All right, so that looks familiar. That's our limbo rod. Let's go up and see if we can get it, and click. What the? How did you get in here? Are you a potato? No matter. Goodbye. I just realized that the text box blocks all the visuals. So let me take a note off to the side. Sorry that you can't see this, but I'm just going to take a quick note. Today is what? 14th. Oh, it's Pi Day. Text box overlaps action in the center. That's a new problem. The text box used to be at the bottom of the screen, but then I tried to make this really responsive because I'm trying to make the mobile play experience really good, because you can play it on you can play all of these games that I'm playing right now on your mobile phone without an account. You can just go and play them free. Just go to bizagames.com, get started. But they played the original metaphor was Game Boy, so they were small at the top of the screen, and my wife has been helping me with the Instagram to help get people to know about it. So she's managing the Instagram, and she makes little videos for me of the playthroughs, which I think is really sweet and nice that she helps me out with that, and makes these videos and plays through them and all. But she mentioned that it doesn't look that good on Instagram with like the screen the way it was, where it's tiny at the top and then like the gamepad. So she would always have to crop it. And she's like, and I got one of her students, she teaches ceramics, gave feedback that it would be cool to go full screen. So I've been working on that, and that I needed a place to put the text box overlap things. So I was like, oh, put it in the center, but Obviously, that's where the camera looks, so it overlaps the content. All right, let's play. Act 1, it's doing time. You wake up in a cell with a splitting headache. You don't know who you are. You don't know what you are. I do want to show off this scenario. So this is a prison cell with gates in front of it. This is the last episode introduced the gates and the buttons concept. But let's go to emergency rollback. And let's look at the dungeon, I believe it's called. Yep. You can't see it, but you fall down in here. There's actually a hidden conveyor belt of props that pushes you down the screen to give that effect of looking like you're falling. I really like top-down pixel art and playing with the background being vertical and using that. It reminds me of making dioramas when I was a kid, which is out of shoeboxes, and I love doing that. I don't know why. It was so fun to like model things. And now every week I just feel this like there's just so much fun of like designing like little scenes. I don't know why I have so much fun doing that. And I don't, looking back at it, it makes me feel kind of proud of myself for making this stuff. So conveyor belt pushes you down the screen. That is that was the big introduction in this level, is the move action that you can trigger that makes you move. Looks like there's some sort of pagan across from you, notices you, and excitedly gestures towards the wall next to your toilet. I watched people play test this. They'll go and they'll check the sink. They'll save. They might interact with the toilet, see it's a toilet that might go here, and you can try and jump in the toilet, and then you can flush it or no flush. Let's no flush. I like always giving you the option to not do something, but you can flush. You flush the toilet, whoosh, you get tugged into the pipe, and now we're now stuck. The bird across the way shakes its head in shame. Game over. That's supposed to be a hint to maybe go talk to this bird. I see people scramble in here. It's maybe not that well designed. It's blue set of bars. Originally, I didn't have this here. And I feel like that more motivated you to like look across and interact, because if you interact, it says Inozu gestures to the wall, and maybe you can see this little blip there, that little smidge, probably not. Edge is something, tug on the protruding edge. Yeah, let's tug. And jet black comes off the wall. My father actually designs the security systems, or used to before he retired, for the New York State prison system. And he has a lot of stories from doing that, because he worked for the state, about how different prisoners would escape. And he mentioned to me one story of prisoners that painted the inside of their cell completely black. They did it like there was like arts and crafts. So the guards gave there was like an initiative to allow them to paint their cells to like feel good or whatever. But a pair of guys painted their cell pitch black, so it was really hard to see what was going on in there. And then they would chip away at the wall, and they painted a piece of cardboard black and put it over top of it so it would blend in and you couldn't see that there was like a hole going on behind there. So that's what this is alluding to. Definitely a lot of things in my life, little snippets show up in these games. So you open it, there's a tub of petroleum jelly, which is also another thing. I'm misremembering. I don't remember if this is from Shawshank where they used petroleum. Actually, no, I think this is another story from my dad where they put lubricant on them to get through like the ducts or something. And then they got to the roof and they were going to use bed sheets to get down, but because they were lubed up, I think it was a story from him, or I don't remember where I heard that. But so the idea of lubing yourself up to get through things in the prison has always been on my mind. So you put on the lube, and look at that. You get a whole different sprite. Look at how ambitious I was to draw different sprites for being covered in petroleum jelly. And this time you can flesh yourself. And from watching play tests, it seems like everybody figures out that as soon as you put that petroleum jelly on, I gotta flesh myself again. You just know it's in our gut that when you cover yourself in jelly, you gotta go down the pipes. And you go in this nasty sewer, this rusted old pipe. That's a big part of Conga Quest, is that you can talk, like interact with everything and see what it is to help know what's going on. You found this guitar pick in the sewers of all places. It's shaped like cherries. What a weird guitar pick. If you were a programmer, this is this cherry guitar pick, or a cherry pick, might click for you if you use version control. The prison soap bar trick was actually in a Stephen King novel. Aha. So was it in Shawshank? Because that's a short story from Stephen King, or is it a separate novel, like you're saying? All right, so we got this weird guitar pick, and if you don't know what a cherry pick is, you can look it up, and maybe you'll get to understand desperation. Okay, I'm very unfamiliar with Stephen King. There's only one book I read from him, and it's On Writing, and that was a good book. It kind of endeared me to him. I was like, maybe I should read one of his books, but I haven't. Is Desperation a good novel? Small penguin hands you a red sticky note because it can't talk. It has to write things down. I don't know why in my contrived world I feel very... my world where you play as a potato, that like animals should not be able to talk. They can be sentient and super intelligent, but they should not be able to talk. That's very important. So he writes on the sticky notes. Yeah, it's one of his better works. Okay, maybe I'll give it a shot. The small penguin hands you a red sticky note. Thank you, Mac. Mac is now following you. So the penguin's name, or the bird-looking thing, is named Mac. And there is a pun to Mac's name, and maybe you will get the pun. It was covered by the text box, but I don't know if you can recognize it. This is the room that you started in. That's the hole that you fell down, and you'll see these two buttons, and you're like, oh, there's two of us. Vault, trespassing prohibited. Let's just explore a little bit. There's this vault over here. Door is locked. We'll just make sure that like you can't boundary break or anything while we're playtesting this, and that the text boxes all work properly. Welcome to the forest you can keep. This is the text box you read at the beginning. We can't go through that, right? Yeah, it's iron bars. Let's save, because that'll probably screw something up. Now, I'm just going to show you this, but you can jump down this hole. And this highlights the teleport problem that I have, or the following problem. The penguin puffin thing doesn't follow you. Why? I don't know. And I didn't want to fix the engine, so I was just like, whatever. He can get detached, and then if you walk by him again, because the engine knows he's in the line, and if you're in the line and the thing you're following is not next to you, you stay where you are until it comes next to you. Then you start following it again. So we'll save again, and let's check out these buttons. Boop. You have to press both of them. That concept was introduced in episode 3 of pressing buttons with people in line. You got the limbo rod. What the heck is it? Well, we don't know what it is, but we learned as the audience, like the potato and the puffin don't maybe, but the audience knows. Act 2, Deus Ex Machina, which is God devices. A lot of what I do in Conga Quest is play with the concept of plot devices, God devices, because Deus Ex Machina is often referred to in narrative to say like something that moves the plot forward, and a lot of Conga Quest is kind of like a play on stories, because stories are linear. You can only experience them, maybe I shouldn't say that you can only experience them in the linearity, but reading, watching, it unfolds. You don't get to interact with it much. Conga Quest is like a meditation on a linear game, and there's some meta stuff about plot devices and stuff that will show up quite a bit. This is the director's cut. Before you stands some kind of machine with a door. Just then Mac, your companion, taps your shoulder and hands you a purple sticky note. The machine can fix world. Seeing you finish reading, you're handed a green sticky note. To use machine, need 22 items from locked vault to the east. Seeing you finished reading, you're handed a yellow sticky note. I'm a puffin, by the way. Where we thought it was a penguin, he wants you to know he's a puffin. Seeing you finish reading, Mac hands you an orange sticky note. Captor has vault key in northwest bedroom. It might seem like he talks a little weird, but I think the point was more about, well, one, he's a puffin, so the fact that he even can write at all is pretty incredible, so give him a break. But I think of him as he's supposed to be a super genius puffin. He's definitely more smart than any puffin I've ever met. I don't think I've ever met a puffin. But I always think of smart people as being curt and brief, because they smart, ambitious, or motivated people, like often doctors are thought of as having bad handwriting. It's kind of like that thing where like they got bigger fish to fry. They don't need to get perfect grammar every time. And especially writing on post-it notes to communicate with you. So we know that to get in this machine, we're supposed to get the stuff from the vault. But to get the stuff from the vault, very linear game, we need to get it from this bedroom, the captor's bedroom. And see, the puffin can't talk. He says squawk, squawk, squawk. And we can open our inventory. And some of my favorite sprites are these post-it note sprites. I don't know why. I feel like they're very pleasing to look at. Simple 3 colors. The limbo rod is fine. This pile of dirt is just to make it so that there's something in your inventory when you open it. If there's not anything in your inventory when you open it, then it's like, what am I even looking at? So I realize that in more recent episodes, I haven't put stuff in your pockets, but the potato starts with dirt. Humans often have lint in their pockets to start. And the cherry pick seems like a guitar pick that looks like cherries. An interesting blend of form, function, and tackiness. All right. So that's the stuff we have. And let's go in here. And it is very dark. So this is something I want to fix. We're going to fix it right now. If we go in here and you see this key, you're like, oh, I just need to get this vault key. Boom. What am I walking over? You trip the security system. That's a laser that you just walked over. So you might come in here again. And you're like, what am I supposed to do? Like, there's nowhere else to go in this game. I've watched a lot of people play test, and sorry, let's replay this and go to the we'll go continue. They'll go, what am I supposed to do? And they'll come in here and they'll trip the alarm again. They won't leave the room. And then they'll go down and they'll check the sewers. I've seen plenty of people do that. They're like, did I miss something in the sewers? And the sewers only has one lane, so you get stuck down there. And they'll scramble all over the place and they'll not know what to do. And I'm a big fan of, I wouldn't call it tricking people into doing the right thing, but it kind of is. It's like putting a carrot in different spots to kind of coerce or coax people in the right way. And I've actually used that to punish people in other levels. And I shouldn't say punish, but like, and maybe it's bad game design to put something that coaxes you, but you shouldn't take it. But one of the coveted things in Conga Quest, if you've played it for a little bit, is the checkpoint, because you don't want to have to lose your spot. So you hit those checkpoints a lot. And the problem is with this scenario is when you come in here, you can't do anything. You already explored the world. You don't know what to do. Then you think, oh, let me try to trip the line some other way. And you just want to get to that key. So you try to go up there. But the game needs you to give up. It needs you to leave the door to trigger going forward. And if people just keep dying here, they'll never leave the door to trigger the next part. And it's important to me, for whatever reason, to have you leave, because I think it's funny. I think it's funny, or like I like the idea in the game of you going somewhere and then a place that's familiar to you that you go back to unlocks some new thing. Because it's like the last place you'd expect to see something new is a place you've already been. And I use that a lot in these games. But there's a problem with it, and we're going to fix it. So let's go to... Notice that lobby on looks like this, and he looks like a ghost. Looks like that. That's when the lights first turn on, and he gets kicked out of there. That's lobby off at the beginning of the game, but let us go to bedroom. I'm not going to show you bedroom night vision, or we're going to look at it for a second because you're going to see it. But what I want to do is to put a checkpoint right here. And what that will do is, because on the way to the key, you'll just say, oh, checkpoint. I'm not going to try to avoid it. I'm going to walk right over it. And that will save you here. And then you'll try all these ways to get this key. And then eventually you'll give up and say, let me leave. And every time you'll die, you'll end up on the checkpoint. Eventually you'll leave. And that's going to trigger the next thing. So it's so see the checkpoint is 2 tiles in. We're going to put another checkpoint. So now you can see me edit. I can filter the entities by the name, and we'll put this right there. Right. So again, we're not going to get this in this game because we already have that. We've already modified the state, and I don't want to play back through it. But let's go in. And so again, if we had hit the checkpoint and then came back out, Mac taps you on the shoulder and hands you night vision goggles. This puffin is sure coming in handy. Cool. So now I drew night vision goggles. A lot of these are at like an angle, except this one is head on. Oh well. All right, cool. Night vision mode. And now we can save again. And I think storyline or like continuity wise, it'll be good to have a checkpoint there too, because it was already there. Could this game hypothetically work on Windows XP? Great question. Hypothetically, yes. It depends how advanced of a browser you're able to get on Windows XP and how modern of browser technology I'm taking advantage of for this game. So I'm not doing any non-standard browser. There's no plugins or extensions to run this game. You can play it on your phone without installing anything. It's just in your browser. If you were able to get like a modern like Chrome on XP, I don't know if Chrome is available on XP. It's a curious thing to try. Get as modern of a browser as you can and see what happens. If at any point it runs into like a JavaScript feature that's not available in that browser, it will choke. But I think this game, the performance isn't so... Like, it's a pretty simple game, so I feel like you could run it on XP. All right, so these are switches. I like that you just walk over it. If you walk it over again, it turns back on. So this is a pretty simple puzzle of flipping switches on and off. This is a sprite. I like to draw the on and off switch. This puzzle I made very late at night on Friday because I procrastinate too much. And these bookshelves are from episode 3. But let's just play. Oh, I already screwed it up. So you have to remember what things look like or just be patient and not ram through. So you turn things off, and I remember you go that way. And I love that it changes the... I had to draw all new sprites just for... There's night vision mode. There's jelly potato when you have petroleum jelly. And spoiler alert, there's some endings. The puffin just has the night vision and normal puffin. But I want to do that more. Play with changing art styles or lighting. I don't even remember why the night vision came to mind. It just seemed like a silly thing to do. And the sillier, the better for Conga Quest. But I'd love to do that more. All right, we got the key. We didn't set off any alarms. Well, we did, but we kept undoing. Nice work, Ninja Potato. And there's our captor asleep in their bed amidst the security system. They're asleep. I don't know if this captor looks familiar to anybody. You probably can't tell from this sprite, but you might be able to from what would have been visible if that looks familiar to anybody. I'm not gonna say it, but there's a background story going on here. All right, now we have the vault key. Cool. So we have to collect the 22 things over here to get into the God machine. We got a content omitted. Wait, huh? What even is it? It looks all pixelated, like it's censored or something. Is this the thing Mac wanted you to get 22 of? Weird. All right. We got all the content omitted. Nice. I had somebody playtest this once, and I had a bug in the game at one point because I changed the engine. So that's the risk of me changing the engine, is it can break the game, all the previous games, because I don't I could store the JavaScript for each one and bundle it next to it, but I don't. I use the latest and greatest engine every time, so you can get new features like this menu that I just added for this week, where you can quit the game and see controls. On mobile, it will show, this is desktop, so it just shows this setup. But on mobile, there's two control schemes now. So if you were playing with the Game Boy style, please check out the new swipe and tap. It's I find that it's way more intuitive. It has better, I think you feel like you have better control over the character, and it's like a visceral feel. You swipe in the direction you want to go and tap to interact. And that just came out for the most recent episode, but it applies backwards to all of them, which is the benefit of sharing the engine, even though there's a risk that I break something for every game. But long story short, somebody was playtesting this, and it was making it, it was making it so that every time they collected a content omitted, it said, you got a content omitted, blah, blah, blah. And it's so very annoying. So we need to do blue again. All right. We have to go up to red, then backtrack to get to the green. And then that lets us access up here. How do we get to that one? Oh, we go here. Cool. Now I got feedback that this scenario was a bit long, and this is an example I meant about the carrot. You really want to press that big red button, but if you do, it's going to shut the doors, because the way this puzzle works is only one colored gate can be visible at a time. This is maybe not a good puzzle because a lot of people are red-green colorblind, and maybe blue-green is the second most popular one. So that's unfortunate. Maybe I'll have to fix that sometime and maybe put a pattern on them so it's more visible. But then again, I'd have to probably pattern, instead of using bars, I'd probably have to put a door with the same pattern. All right, so this puzzle is where I start getting crazy with stuff. Super Mario Lost Levels kind of crazy, where you just do weird things to make stuff work. So technically, I don't think I need to press the green button in this puzzle, actually. You can, if you want. Now you do. Now you have to press it. And then just now I have to press the blue to get to the red to then get the heck out of here. All right, this one is one of my favorite ones, because you have to loop back on yourself. And again, with puzzles, I find I'm a big believer in that the thinking happens through a feedback loop of you when you're designing something. I'm no master. I've only published 11 games so far over the last 3 months. But I think that, what was I going to say about puzzles? If you just start drawing, like if you make the fundamental low level building blocks and just start going, then it will kind of come out of you just playing with these toys. So I'm a big believer of making tools, making the toys for you to work with, tools that are toys, just getting in there, getting your hands dirty, playing with it, and then stuff just comes and emerges out of that. You don't need to sit with a piece of pencil and paper constantly and plan ahead forever. I think you need to get stuff out in front of you, conquer the blank page, and then iterate and edit. I think that humans are mildly good at innovative thinking, but very good at iterative. I see this, I want to make it slightly better, and you just do that in a loop, and eventually you get something. And that's how these puzzles went. I'm not saying that they're great, but they are slightly challenging and mildly clever. And a lot of it was just like drawing a button and then saying, all right, well, what if I put this other button over here, and then just slowly building on it, and then I got somewhere. Too often do I think that people think you have to like plan ahead, and I don't know what plan ahead means, because like, what are you trying to protect against? Oh, let me catch up. I have a colorblind app to test out images like what my characters would look like to someone who can't see red and green. Oh, what app is that? That would probably be good for me to try and possibly make the contrast different on the colors to help. I'm better at making small tweaks to things and terrible at making things completely from scratch for some reason. I would argue that everybody is better at small tweaks. And I think that too often we think that there's like this genius idea that just comes out of nowhere, and then like, boom, this person just, blah. What you don't see, like, freestyle rapping, that's a great example. I think people are very impressed by freestyle rappers. They just watch them rapping and they're just like, wow, these people, how did they think of those rhymes and all that stuff? I'm pretty sure that they just sit in their bedroom and they practice and think of words that rhyme together so that it's kind of like preloaded in their mind. So you don't see all that background iteration of them just sitting there practicing, building up some associations ahead of time, iteratively, slowly, and putting the time in. And then it looks like it's spontaneous and spur of the moment. I'm not saying that there isn't people who just think quickly and are good at stuff. But I think that the magic happens in the edit, and the edit is, as soon as I put the first drop of ink on the paper, it's editing everything from there. So just get that first drop in and go. So I'm right there with you, Existence Scion. All right, so the feedback I got was that this is a little too much, and like too much of this kind of puzzle, and you get tired of it at this point in the game. Like, this is like kind of late in the second act of the game, and you're probably just like, all right, I want to finish this game. I don't want to keep doing this puzzle. Chromatic Vision Simulator, the one I have on Android, probably find something better on Apple or something similar. Okay, sweet. Yeah, I'll take a look for that. And actually, that brings to mind there might be some browser-based ones, because browser color blindness testing is, like, accessibility is a big thing. Because I definitely want the game to be accessible to people. It's not something I'm always thinking about, because like for one, I make it on desktop and then I play it on mobile. So right off the bat, I'm not playing it the way that most people will experience it. And then past that, different people experience things different ways. And it's something I need to work on. Did I get all of them? Let's see. Oh, that's a bug. And I think I noted that so the unlike the rest of these are sprite-based art. The content omitted is a particle effect. I have two kinds of art in this game engine. There's sprites, which just take from a sprite sheet, and then there's particle effects that are more, well, I'll show you. Rather than just talking about it, let's take a look. So content omitted is called censored twinkle. So there's a handful of predefined particle effects that I came up with. I realized afterward that a lot of them are kind of just the same thing and probably could just be describe a direction you want the particles to go, how long you want them to live, and like just configure a set of parameters, and then I could just use that as a building block. But it's at this point I've already made them. That's another drawback of the engine is all the previous levels that are using the, like, let's say I realize that, I just want to make a building block. I have to add that to the list. I can't replace it because it will get rid of all these other ones in this list because it will break all the other games unless I go back and migrate them. And that takes time, and it's like not the focus because I got to make the next episode. So Twinkle is, I believe it's what I use for stars too. And it's just a bunch of particles that stay in their spot and they just are at different rates blinking on and off. And because I have these handful of particle effects and you can set different things about them. So this one you can set the width and height. Most of them you can. It defaults to 15 by 15 because I wanted to be different. Most sprite games use like powers of 2, so you'll have like in really old games maybe 8 by 8, but 16 by 16 is popular, 32 by 32, maybe 64 by 64 or etc. A lot of that has to do with just how computers store information in the old games and stuff, but then I think it kind of developed an aesthetic of using those powers of 2. I don't want to use those powers of 2. I actually want there to be a center pixel. I want an odd number because then when I put eyeballs, I can have a 1 pixel in the middle and the 2 eyes are on either side, and it looks better spaced to me than when it's 2 pixels in the middle. That's just a me thing. When they're facing forward. All right, so then you pick a bunch of colors. These are just text colors with alpha channel, so you can do opacity. This lets you say how big the pixels are, so it's 2 by 2. This is the lifetime that's min lifetime, so they always last at least 3 seconds long, but up to 6 seconds. So between the twinkle, it's somewhere randomly between 3 and 6 seconds. The ratios here are telling you for each one of these, particle count. So there's 50 particles. So 50 little pixels randomly drawn within the frame for the twinkle. When I do stars, I probably do 1 per tile or 2 per tile at most. And then you get to pick the ratio of the colors. So this looks like 69, 69, 69. So that's going to be a gray color. The red channel, green channel, and blue channel are all 69. So that is... when all the channels are the same, it's a gray color. This is also a gray color, A8, A8, A8. This is hex, so it's numbers 0 through 9, and then I assume people know about colors. If you don't, it's not, you could just learn it. It's not a big thing. But the first, each one is a different channel, and the last 2 are for alpha, meaning opacity. So FF is the biggest number you can do in 2-digit hexadecimal. 00 is the smallest. So this is saying put a lot of gray particles and then sparingly. So like this is saying it's not a 10-to-1 ratio. Like the ratio of these two together is 10-to-1, but like sum it all up. It's kind of like if I put the marbles in a bag randomly and I pulled them out, I would have 10 times greater chance of getting this color than that one, is how it's specified. And these are, I think, other like a blue or a green color. Let's see. So this is FF in the middle. So this is going to be very green and then a little bit of red, but more blue. And then this is E5. What is that? F6? I can't read. I need to get reading glasses. So that's going to be like a tealish color because it's a lot of green still, but a little bit of blue. All right. Well, I'll make a different stream where I read hex colors to people. I could have just clicked on this and it will show you. Okay. The whole point of that was I needed to write down this bug. Particle effects are not rendered in inventory. And I already knew that bug, but I just haven't gotten around to fixing it. And I'm not going to do that on stream because I'll have to change the engine. And it's just, right now I'm using LLMs a lot to help with the code. So one, it would just be me saying, hey, LLM, blah, 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 blah. Maybe that would be interesting for people to see how I interact with it. None of the art or story or anything of that is done by the LLMs, but they do help me with the code, which seems like people are less concerned about that part in terms of replacing humans, the fears of that. Because I think there's this idea that humans are innately creative and that you don't want to outsource that part. So I haven't, but I do use it to help write the engine code. And I know how to write the engine code. It's just faster. And it's worse when the agent does it. It's better when I do it, but I just need to do a game a week, so I don't have a lot of time. All right. He also teleported here. All right, so we have done the main puzzle, and we're going to get to the last thing in this game. A little bit of backstory. Act 3, you're in Mac, taps your shoulder, blue sticky note, enter this code. This is a pun. This is also in hexadecimal. It's funny that I was just walking you through hexadecimal because the end of the game is in hex. The AI can make a lot of hiccups in the code from what I've seen. Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of the time, so I'll use AI at work too. It's a big thing that we use at work, my day job. But we do code review. We use GitHub for that. And I use GitHub at home too. And I'll let the agent write the code. And then a lot of times I'll review it depending on how complicated the change is. Either I'll review it in GitHub or I'll look at the code directly. Or if I just want to iterate, because it takes a lot of time to write the code by hand, depending on what it is. Like if it's UI stuff where I have to like make a lot of changes to the UIs, it's a lot easier to just say, look at the code I already have. There's conventions here. Just follow the conventions, add this new tiny little feature to those. For instance, every time I add a new like action to my DSL, the coding scripting language I use, it's really good at just plugging in small little features like that because there's so much code and design that I did ahead of time that makes it easy for it to understand what to do. I think it runs into trouble when there's less structure. So if you have already a structured code base, it's pretty good. Or if you like, what's really taking off is specification driven design or test driven design too, where you do provide a lot of structure for the agent to know what success looks like, and then it does a better job at succeeding. But yeah, it does have hiccups. It's not perfect. It will do weird things sometimes. And that does mean that you have to ask yourself, do I want to spend more time reviewing this than I do want to writing it? And you do that constantly. Like, it might be easier to just write something like complicated algorithms and stuff. It might be easier for you to just write the code yourself. But it also might be easier for simple things to just review it. Like if it's just a bunch of UI code, which is mostly boilerplate to say, I want this box to look this way. It's easier to just look at it and review it. But enough for me about AI development today. This is a pun. This is Zero Coffee Bad Idea 68, but it's hexadecimal, which is again 0 through 9, A through F. So Mac is trying to get you to fix the universe by entering this. This manual, if you want to play the game, you can read through it. I'm just going to punch through it, but this is just kind of like explaining. It's pretending to be a manual, and it's some mathematical. The math is correct in all this if you want to read it, but it's basically saying this is a machine that allows you to access different addressable states of the universe using the hexadecimal code that you have, and it tells you how many states of the universe you can access. It's a lot of like math jokes if you're if you're into that, about like powers of two and just how quickly numbers can grow when you like have a 16, yeah, four groups of four, 16 digit hexadecimal, so it's 16 times, or 16 to the 16 power, which is a 64-bit addressing system, which is what your computer uses for most people. I don't think anybody's on anything bigger than 64-bit right now, unless you're like using a supercomputer or something. And mostly you don't need to address more than that. But if you're into that kind of humor, read this manual. It's not necessary. There's some jokes in it. And it also kind of provides a backstory for what this machine does. It's the universe version control system. I mentioned Git before. That's version control for code. This is the version control system for the universe. Avoid the flames. Sometimes the 6 key sticks. And you recognize, oh, Mac was the one who wrote this manual. And Mac stays behind. And he says to use this keypad. And he gave you the blue sticky note that says 0 coffee, bad idea on it. All right. This keypad was the first thing I built in this game because I just had this funny idea for you to have to use your body to type on a keypad to spell out an address for the universe. And I had all these funny ideas. Maybe I had too much coffee. And so I built this keypad thing first. It took me most of the week to build. And then I had to scramble to build the entire rest of the game like on Thursday and Friday. And there's a lot of like fun little puns and details put into this keypad. So for instance, if we, right off the bat, it's broken. It's supposed to put letters here, but it is not showing the letters. So let's take a look. I'm on a stream. I got some chatters today. Say hi. Say hi in the stream. This is my social media manager, Alyssa. She's also my wife. She is peeking in, but she doesn't want to be on the camera. What do we want to fix? We want to fix... we get somebody... Existent Scion said hi. Who? Existent Scion. Oh, hey. So it looks like the blank key is showing up, but none of the rest of the characters are showing up. I don't know if I have the... Let's just take a... Look how much work this was. I had to make a prop for every freaking button in this game. That's just the art, sorry. Yeah, so let's see. Cursor... Move the cursor, modify entity. Oh, that's just a button in general. Wait a minute. Is this the 0 button? No, it doesn't have the letter on it. Where is this button that I want? Oh, because when they're pressed, they always look like that. It doesn't. I didn't put a letter on each one because I didn't have the time. We'll say, but it would be button 3 when it's up. All right. So this says when something enters it, set the down tag. So if the down tag, it will draw that rendering. Modify adjacent to this prop to the south. Oh, I think I broke something in the engine. So that means I'm going to have to fix that. And I apologize to everybody because that is not very good to not be able to use it. Keypad doesn't work. display doesn't work in episode 4. Episode 5. Okay. I will fix that. I think because I was doing some stuff with the adjacent selector for this most recent episode, maybe I broke something, which sucks. So I'll fix that. So this is saying take it uses this cursor, which is this white arrow, and it finds that whatever prop is below it, and it modifies it to add a tag of a number, and then using that tag is what powers all these displays. Every single one of these things, these tiles, is a different display tile, and their rendering rules lets them render any of the different, this is I think the first episode where I made it so that you could copy paste the code out, because I had to do all of this to make it work. What a nightmare to do. I'm kind of blown away that I did this. I'm getting like flashbacks of what do they call that? Of trauma of a late night Friday, realizing, crap, I need to make this. Well, actually, again, I did this stuff earlier in the week. That's why so much attention to detail was put here. So yeah, these based on whatever tag they are, they display this, which technically isn't that bad. You just have to figure this out once and then copy paste it. And this is pretty scriptable to I probably just copy pasted each one and then changed the letters to make it like this, and then copy pasted it across all of these. A lot of copy pasting. Most of this engine is just copy paste stuff. This is my magic copy button to do copying. And I realized how powerful copy paste is as a metaphor. So it's broken, but what we're going to do is we're just going to add random things, and this shows the different endings you can get. So if there's 3 different endings, there's a good ending and 2 bad endings based on what you enter. So if you enter, I think it's based on if you finish on a odd or even number, you'll get one of the 2 endings that are bad if you type in the wrong thing. So, you reset to a universe before the planet was formed, which is most of the universe states. Yeah, so this is hinting at that working on these episodes has actually gotten me pretty interested in the scope of the universe we're in. So our planet, I think, is 4.6 billion years old in a universe that's like 13 billion years old, which is really interesting to think about, because they talk a lot about how insignificant Earth is in the scheme of things and how big the universe is. It's gigantic. There's like billions. We're just like one solar system, and there's like billions of solar systems in the galaxy. I might be making that up. But then there's billions of galaxies, and our galaxy isn't even important. And just like the idea that the Earth actually is a very big percentage of the known duration of the universe is interesting. 4.6 billion years out of 13 point something years. That's like a little under a third of the Earth has been around for the last third of the history of the universe. That's pretty interesting. But what that also means is that the majority of the time in the universe was just not the Earth. So this is saying that you have a pretty high probability, if you type in a random code to go to a state of the universe, you're going to hit a state that was not livable. More stars in the universe than there are grains of sand on the world's beaches. I believe it. Yeah, I've heard that. And also, I love big number stuff like that. There's more potential board states in chess than there are atoms in the universe. I love big number stuff. It's so fun. And I put a lot of it in Conga Quest. You flash freeze in a giant vacuum of space. Game over. Oh, you don't need... This is the problem with the centered text. You didn't get to see the sprite that I drew for the potato when he's frozen. This is the cold potato frozen in space. So I already took a note that I gotta fix that. Yeah, chess is intimidating. I used to play it addictively, and I never got good at it. I played LI Chess, which is a free chess app, and I got better at it. Like it shows you how you get, but I never got like. I feel like the amount of energy I was putting into playing chess was not being seen in my trajectory. This is Toilet Potato. Toilet Potato clearly is a sprite that did not get triggered, so that's a bug as well. Let me put that down. Toilet Potato never gets rendered. And I wonder why Toilet Potato isn't getting rendered. I mean, one thing you might just say, oh, is it written the Toilet Potato? This episode is epic. Like, there's so many things that went on in this. I can't believe that I made this. And I'm just saying that because in more recent episodes, I just feel like I'm putting so much energy in, and it's like not as epic of, like, obviously I made trade-offs. Look at this background. It's just gray boxes. All right, so that's one ending. I don't remember what number or letter we ended on, but let's do it again, and let's end explicitly with a 1. So that's 4 digits, 4 digits, 4 digits, and let's see if this gives you... All right, so we know that one is... So we'll end on an even number, so let's do 8. Let's finish on 8. So I'll just keep doing 8. Spam it. All right, that's not it. All right, we need to look this up. So it would be on any one of these buttons. It advances the cursor, so I think it's based on the movement. I think there's like, as I remember, the cursor, it moves across the screen, and then there's like a on enter trigger that I have. Oh, cool. We should play chess sometime, Razor. Actually, I think we did. I think we played at my parents' house. I had conveyor belts in this episode. They never saw the light of day, though. I was ambitious. I thought I was going to use conveyor belts, I guess. Look at that. I spent time drawing that. I never used it. Drop tile. Keypad return. So basically the cursor starts in the scene up here, but there's special stuff. There's a hidden invisible magic prop here that as the cursor goes over it, every time you press a key, it moves the cursor to the right, kind of like a typewriter. I reinvented a dumb typewriter for hexadecimal in this game engine. When it gets here, it goes here, but there's nothing to type here. So there's an on enter for this, which I believe is called keypad space. And on enter, it just takes anything that moved on top of it and moves it to the right, which gives me the feeling that, no, you can't. This is blocked here. It moves it 15 in the X coordinate, and it uses instant instead of animated, like with it easing. It says move the actor. This is that special selector. Move the actor 15 to the right. Negative 15 would be to the left. Don't move it in the y-axis. Do it instantly. Don't animate it with an easing. So the space tiles magically make it hop when it enters, and then it gets here, and then there's 2 hidden tiles here for the carriage return, kind of like a typewriter. And this says move it minus 135. Again, the tiles are based on 15, so minus 135 is going to take it from the cursor is here, it's going to knock it backwards on negative 135 to this coordinate, and it's going to drop it down down the screen. You might, if you're familiar with X and Y and like rendering, you're like, oh, well, negative is usually up because 0, 0 is in the top left. But again, I'm using 3D engine coordinates, which are opposite, and it always confuses me. I feel like sometimes I regret doing it that way, but like in screen coordinates, 0, 0 is in the top left. In 3D modeling, in a lot of coordinate systems, you put 0, 0 in the middle, and Y increases upwards, up the screen, and then negative is down the screen. X traditionally always goes right. Positive goes to the right, and negative goes to the left. And Z-axis for me, I do positive Z-axis goes this direction into the screen, and negative Z-axis comes out of the screen at you. A lot of people talk about the right and left-hand rule systems of coordinates, where you take your fingers and like each finger is an axis in the coordinate system. And in left-hand coordinate systems, each finger is supposed to point in the positive direction for the axis. So X-axis on left hand goes to the right. Y, I believe, is your thumb, and it goes up in the L. So Y almost always goes up. Actually, is it in the positive? Yeah, it is in the positive direction. And the Z-axis positive comes out of the screen towards you. So I use a left-hand coordinate system. A lot of game engines use a right-handed coordinate system, meaning positive X actually goes to the left, and positive Z also comes to. Actually, now I'm confused again. That's why I don't really like these left coordinate system things. Anyway, all I know is I do the opposite of what everybody's doing, and sometimes I like to do that to be fun, but then it burns me because it means the screen coordinate system doesn't align well with the 3D coordinate system, so I have to translate it in my head every time. And it's not the end of the world, especially when you use LLM. Sometimes it'll just do it for you. All right, so I want to figure out how do I get to man, I am bad at tangents. Let's go back. The keypad submit this is all the crazy logic that runs the different endings of the game. So submit is if the cursor is here and it gets to this spot, that means it finished. Normal. The first one is carriage return. Second one means done, so it submits. And let's see. It's saying if display 15 has tag A, or display 15 has tag C, or so display 15, it starts at 0, 0, so 15 is the last one here. So it's saying if the last digit has A, C, E, 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8, do blue screen. So it should have done blue screen. Now what I wonder is if the issue is that I'm not applying the tags properly. So I probably, Alyssa, I think that's why your friend couldn't beat this episode. Why? Because I broke the display screen, so it means that you can't ever enter the right code. Let me think what could be. All right. I think we can fix this, but it's going to require me to talk through. So adjacent to I added, and adjacent to is saying take a selector, so find the cursor and find the thing south of that cursor. and return that as a selector. So, and then set the tag 0 on it. I just added a new one called near. So we're going to temporarily break this game. So if you played it, you're going to see something broken. But I want to just see if I can get the 0 to show up. I mean, the game is broken right now. So it's why we're streaming. So what I'm going to do is, let me just make sure I first understand. Lobby off. Character. Do we have any title changes? No, we just do start dialogue. So the player is in not rendering properly. So let me just write that as a bug too. Player not rendering in scene editor. Okay. So I'm going to fix this. I'm going to go through and we're going to jump to the last scene of the game, which is finale. And we're going to put the player, I think I just called it potato. No? Is it called player? Yeah, it's called player. All right, we're just going to put the player here. And that means that we are going to restart and we're going to make a new game. And blah, 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 blah. Okay. Now we start here. So if you were to play the game right now, do this at home, you can go play it right now while I have this broken and you'll teleport to the end of the game. So I want to see if I fix the, oh, I fixed it. All right. So I added a new thing called near that is better than adjacent. Adjacent, I think, had a bug. So we're just going to go through and change everything to near. And that fixes the end of the game. So button 0 instead of adjacent, we're going to use near. And we'll just go through and copy paste this. This is the power of copy paste. That's button 2, button 3. Watch as I live fix this game. I don't even know what adjacent to does. Speaking of on leave, oh yeah, button 6 does magic stuff. Button 7 does, okay, button 8. Button 9. And then you don't get a 10 in hex, you go to A. And then B. And then C. And then D. And then I had a delete button, but I guess I didn't add it. You only get one shot. That's button E. Button glass. That doesn't have adjacent. That was the one that opens the glass. All right, so now we fixed the game and it auto saves the scene editor. So let's see if this stuff works. B, C, B, yay! Yay, we fixed it live on the stream. All right, so now if I do 0, if I end it with as we saw before, if I end it with an A, a C, even numbers, an E, a 0, a 2, a 4, a 6, or an 8, it's going to take us to the blue screen of death, which, speaking of Windows XP, is one of the scenarios you can get. So the idea is in this game, the 3 endings are either you accidentally teleport too early in the universe's history to when the world doesn't exist. Like, you're not even teleporting, you're resetting the universe to an earlier state, which in version control for code, every time you create a new version, it gets like a hexadecimal random string of characters to represent its state. and you can jump backwards to a previous version by just saying what ID you want, and that's what we're doing in this. So we jump back. Universe doesn't exist in the star one. This is the opposite. You jump to a state that never existed because the universe just never got that far, or it didn't, like we were talking about, the number of chess boards is possible chess boards is bigger than the known like the number of atoms in the universe. The joke here is that maybe the number of addressable universe states is bigger than the actual number of possible universe states. Which, for example, if we wanted to give, if we used every different state of a chessboard as a fingerprint for every atom in the universe, you could, because we're saying that there's more chess configurations than there are atoms in the universe. So we could take every atom in the universe one by one and say, first atom, your chess state is 2 kings up here. And then next atom, your name is this chess state. And when we got to the end of the list of atoms to name them with different chessboards, they each get their own unique one. We would have run out of atoms and still have more chessboard states to go. And that's what this is alluding to, is that, like, obviously the universe is a lot more complicated than a chessboard. There's a lot more states the universe could be in, but the joke in this game is that the universe is still finite. It's which technically all physicists do believe, that the universe is finite, that there's a fixed amount of energy and matter in the universe, and it's just changing state, but it's not, you're not getting any more matter or energy. So if that's the case, and there's also the Planck constant, or not, is it no, it's the Planck length. So I think Max Planck is like this physicist or whatever, or chemist or something, and he theorized that there's a very, very small length, a very small distance, that if you go any smaller than that, nothing meaningful in physics happens, which you could say is like, oh, it's the pixel of the universe. Like, you can't subdivide it any further than the Planck length. Like, if you had a photon, it would be on one side of the Planck length, and then boom, it would be on the other. It would never be in the middle. It's digital almost. So based on that, you could say that, and I think there are people looking into this idea of the universe being big but finite in its possible states, and this game is joking about that. You'd probably need more than 16 hex digits to address every possible universe state in our universe, but this is a silly game, so I'm not going to do that. You'd probably have to type a lot longer on the keypad to do that. You borked the whole universe forever, because when you reset the universe, you're resetting it to a state that doesn't exist, and now you just don't have a universe anymore. Whereas when you reset the universe to, like, before the world existed, the universe will still eventually succeed, but you got teleported back there too, and now you're not going to do so well. All right, so now let's get the desired ending, which is 0 coffee, bad idea, 68. 0 C O F F E E. And I don't mean to push my beliefs on people. Bad idea with a 1, that you should have coffee. Because I don't know that you should, because sometimes I don't like coffee. Oh, no, you pressed a 6, but there's fire, and you can't go in the fire. That blocks you from getting to the 8, so you have to do 6, 7. And this is the desired ending of the game. It doesn't take, you don't go to where the puffin wanted you to go, but you do go somewhere, and that's to this reality. In an instant, everything changes around you, the dawn of a new day. That wasn't the address on the sticky. Where are you? When are you? Find out next time. You win. Kinda. So, unfortunately, Alyssa, yeah, I think the game was broken. It's fixed now, so your friend could beat it if they wanted to, but they'd have to start from the beginning. And just like every game, what a beautiful day. I really like ending the episodes with, like, sunrise rises a lot, so you're going to see this quite a bit. The first episode ends with a sunrise. I haven't done a sunrise ending in a little bit. Let's see. What time is it? It is a little past midnight. Should I do one more episode? 12:11. Thanks. All right. Show of hands. Does anybody want to see one more episode, or should we call it a night? I'm not going to be, my feelings won't be hurt in either direction. Okay, sounds good. Well, it's nice. Thanks for watching. And next time we'll do episode 6 and make fixes to it. And I'm glad we fixed this episode because it was a pivotal one. Thanks so much for sticking through this. And I'll see you guys maybe next Saturday will be the next time I go back through and fix things. Have a great night. See ya. Thanks. See ya.